Welcome to the Gains Cast, and we are missing one person here, but I think we have some adequate stand-ins. We have the 15th Mr. Olympia, Brandon Curry, sitting next to me.
Hola.
And of course, we have his lovely wife, Brandy Curry. And of course, we have my wife, Katie.
Hey guys.
And we're missing a microphone. Again, we do the best we can. We travel, but we're going to be sharing a microphone on this side. So, this is Brandon's first interview since the Olympia, right?
Yeah, very first interview. Nobody wants to talk to me except Marc.
Well, to be honest, we have been at Disney parks for the entire week. It's been a great family vacation. If you guys didn't know, we have started 015 Nutrition together, which is an awesome brand. And I'll let Brandon, you could go ahead and explain 015 to people, and then we'll get into all the cool Olympia stuff.
Well, you know, O is, of course, stands for the Olympia. 15, the 15 Mr. Olympia, 015 Nutrition. It's Brandon Curry's label, Brandon Curry's brand. But we've started, of course, with the Big O Bar, which has been a very, very big hit. Delicious, wonderful, whole food, sweet tasting, awesome tasting bar. Good way to get your calories in the gym, clean calories, MCT oil, nut-based fats, 100% whey isolates in it, which just makes it a nice, high, easily digestible protein. None of the stuff that's going to kill your stomach, kill your digestion, give you gas, bloating, sweet superfood honey, and it's just delicious, and the people have been enjoying it and raving about it. And then we have our two pre-workout supplements, Exalt, which is our stimulant-based formula, and we have our non-stim pump-based formula, Expansion. And these two can be combined, which we've seen a lot of people combine with some great results in the gym. I was just talking to my buddy the other day, and he said he took the half dose of each. And he was like, oh yeah, I had a good workout. And then the next day he took a full dose of each. And he was like, bro, I was just focused, like I could lift the weights with my mind. he was like, I didn't have like too much that's crazy, stupid energy. You know, some of those things give you. He said, but the focus was incredible. So it was good.
Yeah, and I'll add that the isolate in the Big O Bar is actually hydrolysated, which makes it even easier to digest. Because Brandon's a big fan of hydrolysate. I'm like, what kind of proteins? I like the hydrolysate. And so that's why we came together. We put together, you know, it's a superior bar. It's just superior. And it's big. It's got 460 and 470 calories.
Yeah, 460, 480, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We need to work harder and get up to 500, man. I think until we hit 500, we're just playing. But it's an honor to obviously work alongside this man. And we got some big things coming. And speaking of big things, the Olympia, man, what are your initial kind of reactions to the Olympia? When I say, tell us your experience with the Olympia. Like, what is your initial thought? Like, what comes to mind? Like, the Olympia was
quite the event of 2020. It was much of a, you know, I guess you could say it was kind of rushed and put together last minute, but it was quite the enjoyable circus, I would say. They did a very, very good job. We had the biggest stage that we ever had in the Olympia history. The production went along great. I don't think the athletes missed out on any of the experiences that we normally would have missed out on. Of course, things like the meet and greet or, you know, downsized a little bit to VIPs. So it wasn't as busy, but in a COVID year, you don't probably don't want it to be too busy. And the expo, of course, as you guys were there, wasn't super busy because of, you know, some of the restrictions and layouts and stuff and whatnot. But the Olympia as a whole was another good event, a very, very fan-festive event, and the crowd was there. I mean, the crowd was actually there, showing up in the building. So, and it was pay-per-view as well. So, professional pay-per-view that I didn't hear a lot of people complaining about, like they would the free live stream. And so I guess they did a very good job at doing the production of the pay-per-view as well. So,
Yeah, it was, just to give credit where credit's due, like we've all put together events. They literally put this thing together in a couple weeks. And to move it across the country, and you got to give credit to Solomon and the team. Jake Wood and everybody involved. To my girl, who I actually hired at Weeder in 2002, Talene, who put together the expo. Like, these are good people doing good things, and they care about the sport. And that's the thing about this new group. and I can't overstate what they've done for the sport. Even something small like bringing back women's bodybuilding. Some people might be, well, they do that. Well, it just, for me, it shows a love for the sport. A love for all sections of the sport, not just a love for the men's side, not just the men's for the physique, love for the physique side, but you're showing a love for the overall sport and the pureness and the history of the sport. And women's bodybuilding with Corey Evers and Linda Murray and all those that followed them, to hear them talk about women's bodybuilding like that, it kind of made me realize, you know, we did miss out. And these guys, I think they're looking out for the betterment of the sport and the growth of the sport. And that made me excited to see that.
And they're looking out for the fans, you know. As fans, you have your niches, you have what you like, and things you don't like, but remember the fans that come to see the women's bodybuilding, they're coming to see the women's bodybuilding no matter what. They're going to support that side. So Jake is looking out for all the fans of the physique sports, and that's important in our sport. You know, we're looking out for all the fans.
So one thing that I said a few times is that 2019, you won the Mr. Olympia, but I felt you peaked at the Arnold, and you had, obviously your body can only go through so much before it starts fighting back. And this year you took what everybody said, and instead of just blocking them and shutting them out, you did exactly what people told you to do, and that's come in sharper, crisper, and in my opinion, the best conditioning we've seen in decades, since I think 2003. I think it was the best conditioning we've seen on the Olympia stage in a long, long time, at least for someone who finishes in the top 5. You know what I mean? Like some guys will finish last, but they're not big enough, they don't have whatever the shape. But to come in and bring that conditioning, now, was that your game plan all along?
Yeah, that was the big game plan all along. Just coming in sharp, not worried about anything else. So we knew we could stand on the stage, and we knew we had enough muscle. We just got to bring it in shredded, bring it in polished. And that's what we pushed to do. That was just the whole game plan for this year. We put that in mind on we would have to compete against, one of the conditioning guys himself, Phil Heath, of course. So we want to make sure we can come in and challenge him with some aesthetics and conditioning because we knew he was going to bring it. We didn't consider, what Ramy would bring because, of course, the inconsistencies there. But, so that was a surprise. So the game plan for next year may be a little different than that.
That kind of leapfrogs me into another thing. Like Phil Heath, all we heard about this Olympia, and then we get to everything else later, is Phil Heath. What did it feel like? And I say this from like a respect standpoint, to stand next to Phil Heath, a man that, you actually, you saw coming up and you saw be at the top, 7-time Mr. Olympia. What was it like to stand on stage next to Phil Heath?
Well, I have to say I was waiting for this day for a very, 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 very long time. Just coming up with him, having the same coach at one point in time, seeing this guy charge through the ranks, and having respect for him as a bodybuilder. I was just waiting on the opportunity. We both knew this was going to happen. We had some, long time conversations about, facing each other eventually, who was going to be at the top. But it happened, and me just being there on stage with him, just looking at him beside me, being compared, it was surreal, and it was definitely an honor. And for me to be able to edge him out and bag up anything that I said leading into the competition was also excellent as well. So it was a victory on that note for sure. Yeah,
that was one of the most, just for me from the inside, just looking in, it was like, this is kind of historical. You got a 7-time Mr. Olympia, Dexter Jackson, in his final show. Coming in, and you had 3 Mr. Olympias on the same stage. And then you had, of course, Ramy. Now, coming out of Prejudging, did you have any idea of what it was going to look like at night? Did you know from the call-outs? Were you up in the air? Did you think it was between you and Phil? Did you think Ramy would come in better, harder? What was going through your mind after Prejudging?
Well, I knew they just kind of clustered, they just messed us up all with the call-outs and all with the switching around. Yeah, I figured Steve was playing some kind of Jedi mind tricks on the audience and the athletes because everybody was freaking confused, so we didn't know what was going on. As the night went on, past the Prejudging, some things going on in my camp, so I kind of understood, what was going on after the fact. After some conversations went down, we knew Ramy was going to be the guy to beat going into the finals. So, so we got that consensus, but that was way off the stage. That wasn't necessarily on the stage. So that was an interesting factor because we wasn't really expecting it. Looking at Ramy backstage, I mean, he was in better condition, but I mean, he didn't look like he was like transparent. So I couldn't tell from, backstage what he would look like on stage, in a sense. So going into the prejudging, it wasn't really a factor in my mind that was who I was being compared against. Plus, I don't think we were ever standing side by side in prejudging, if I remember correctly.
You did at first.
Maybe if we were, it was brief.
At the very beginning.
It was brief, and then I remember being next to Phil a lot in the prejudging, way more than I was next to Ramy. So it was interesting when I figured out that it was Ramy that was going to be the guy to battle against in the finals.
Yeah, I mean that was quite a sight to see. So Ramy, you look at this guy. Here's a big guy. So you're a guy who's obviously big. You're the beefcake. I mean, so you're looking at Ramy, and assuming Ramy, with his new coach and everything, they're able to bring in conditioning again. If Ramy comes in as good as it did this year, do you think you'll be able to beat Ramy?
Yeah, I mean, Ramy, he's a talent. He's an oddity. I mean, he brings the size to the stage, and when it's conditioned, I guess it's somewhat impressive. But my preference in bodybuilding, personally, is not a Ramy style bodybuilder. When Ramy first came into the industry, I won't name names. The people that even are in his camp now called him a bodyguard. So they really didn't think he had the, kind of aesthetics, the shapes, and everything to kind of stand out as a top bodybuilder. Eventually, after the New York or whatever, people started recognizing that he got that height, that he could be more than what some of the initial people thought he was going to be coming before that. So, he just didn't have some of the things and some of the, he had his crazy legs, of course, that were kind of out of proportion. He had some, looks, modalities in his look that kind of maybe didn't look as detailed or strident enough. Lumps in different areas that some people were criticizing. So we didn't know if the sport was going to lean towards that direction, considering all the previous champions that were ahead of this year's champion. So it's a surprise that the sport kind of is going in somewhat of that direction. But I mean, he did do the work. He did bring the improvements, and this was a much improved Ramy. I know there's some debate out there on the internet. I've seen some comparison pictures with him with some other shows, and some people are questioning whether this was actually his best conditioning. But I think he brought enough to the stage to where, people were impressed as a whole with Ramy's look when you compare Ramy to Ramy.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he looked his best. I'm not going to say he didn't look his best. In comparing pictures, it's really hard to do it. Like after prejudging, look, I'm friends with Phil. I love Phil Heath. I like the guy a lot. Okay, but from pictures that people were sending me from the internet, as someone who was sitting, we had good seats. Thank you, by the way, for those. He wasn't the conditioning you see in pictures, so you can't judge picture to picture as if you're there in person. I think we could all agree on that.
Right, exactly.
And also what you miss in the pictures, and I said this in kind of my opinion post Olympia, is Ramy was lacking any striation in his body. And that is suspect to me. And I could say it, you probably shouldn't, but like conditioning and quality and hardness, that's something that Dorian knocked you on last year.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If Dorian doesn't raise an eyebrow over Ramy's conditioning, there's an issue with his bias, because you had way better conditioning in 19 than Ramy brought. Big, ridiculous muscle and some really great shape for a guy that big. He has a smaller waist for his size, but his chest, when he did it most muscular, had no striations. So you have to factor in quality, hardness, things like that. And for me as a fan, what this reminds me of is the old days when you saw Nasser compete and battle with guys like Flex and Cormier, and even Ronnie at the beginning of his career. You see a mass monster. The difference is we never really had a pure mass monster win. You never saw Marcus Rule win. You never saw Nasser win the big title. My fear is that we take this into that realm, the mass monster realm. We're in a good spot. Phil Heath, in his prime, phenomenal, streamlined physique. One of the best you'll ever see, ever.
Exactly.
Even Ronnie, even in his biggest days, had a shape and a quality, and he had glute striations and chest striations and just crazy graininess. And then you had Dorian, then you had E. Dexter, and then you had Sean, and then you, and then Ramy. It doesn't fit where we've been going. We literally took this and we're going in a very positive direction. And you know, everybody emulates the first place guy. That's why when you say your strategy might not be the same, that's my fear, is that everybody starts playing that dangerous size game. And everybody starts getting on stage 20, 30 pounds heavier. Not only is that dangerous to the sport, that's dangerous to the health of the athletes. That's dangerous to the NPC guys coming up who think that's how they're going to win their pro card. So in my opinion, and again, I'm going to get so many dislikes for saying this, Ramy did win the Mr. Olympia. He won it. You know why? Because the judges say he won it. He put in the work. He was the best man on that stage. I wasn't judging. And my seats, as good as they weren't looking up from the bottom. I did not have the view that they had. I've judged shows. I've had athletes, girlfriends throw drinks on me. I know what it's like to be a judge, and it sucks. So I'm not going to I'm not going to take away from the judge's job. Mm-hmm. But my fear is that when we start going in this direction, it just lends to a cascade of events that I think isn't that good for the sport. Ramy deserved it. He's not bad for the sport, but I fear if someone tries to outsize Ramy. Like, you know, every time that happens, it's not good. Like, I'm going to bring up stuff people don't bring up. Rich Piana didn't compete, but bigger is better. Bigger by the day. He's dead. Dallas McCarver, 24 years old? He's dead. He played that size game. He was getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You're not, how old are you now, bro?
38 years old.
38. You've been putting on this size year after year after year after year. What happens when a kid wants to get on stage at 280, 290?
They're going to rush it. They're going to rush it. They're going to be in a rush. They're going to do some ridiculous things they read off the internet or the boards. Well, we used to have the boards. They're going to follow the cycle. They're going to find Ramy's supposed cycle, and they're going to try to follow it and try to be big Ramy. So you got a lot of naive people out there that think they can rush to success in bodybuilding, and that's the worst way to go about the sport. This is a journey. This is not definitely not a sprint.
I've watched you put 100 pounds on over the course of 20 years.
Yeah, that's not much.
20 years.
In the course, that's 20 years, guys. And also, by the way, speaking of cycles online, I believe it's mesomorph.com has my steroid cycle on there. And it is amazing. I must look amazing, bro. Like, they have me on, I'm doing 30 IUs of Slin a day. I'm on Tren, Masteron. If I could pull it up and edit it into this video, it is, somebody sent it to me like, bro, is this what you're taking? I'm like, shit, that's like 12 G's a month in steroids, man. I mean, I don't got that kind of budget for steroids. I mean, it's great. So, again, I've been in this game a long time, and I've seen these trends, these fads come and go, the size game, and I think we finally got it where they're not rewarding, they're actually penalizing big waists. And Ramy, to his credit, he's 290 or whatever he is on stage. I don't know what his real weight is. I didn't see the scale. I don't think he's 290.
No, he's not 290.
I've seen him, and I've seen 290. I've seen Greg Kovacs, and I've seen Ronnie Coleman, and I've seen Nasser, and I've seen Marcus. He's smaller than all those guys, but he's big as hell. And for him to have the waist he has at that size, that's a freak. He is a freak. His legs are freaky. He's freaky.
I will say this. He did come in hard. He was definitely hard.
Yeah.
And then we see something from Ramy that we never really seen before, looking back and catching some of the video and kind of remembering back. He showed a level of confidence on stage that he's never, ever showed on stage. Yeah. He had a level of confidence on stage that, you just couldn't deny. It was very, very apparent that he was feeling good about whatever he brought or whatever he felt position-wise he was in. So that was something that, you've never seen the big man be so dominant. He's always not quite as confident as he was going into this Mr. Olympia weekend. So
he was in shape for posing. That's for sure. That Dennis, I'm sure, made him come prepared for that.
Dude, they dragged him out, and he lasted. I thought he would pass out.
His poise was like, I was like, wow, he's owning it.
And he played their guitar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That was good.
Sure we knew.
That was great.
We all knew definitely after seeing 212 that Steve was gonna really, really work us down. I'm pretty sure Dennis already knew that ahead of time that Steve was gonna really, really work us down. So It was quite work. I mean, for me personally, coming in last, being the last man on the stage doing my 90 seconds, and then have to jump right into comparisons, that about killed me. I never had that experience before. I wasn't quite prepared for that, and I spent the whole prejudging trying to catch up and trying to catch my breath.
Yeah.
Because I've never been last, and I've never been directly compared after doing 90 seconds.
You're used to being last, but not that last, right?
Yeah.
That's a different last than we saw 4 years ago, right?
Right.
Like, damn it, I kind of enjoyed going like second, you know?
Yeah, so nobody could have prepared me for that.
Yeah.
Man. Phil could have gave me a warning or something about going out
Man,
last.
Phil ain't warning you, bro.
He's like, man, you may want to just, conserve your energy when you're gonna turn around and make you compare with everybody after they've been off stage for a while. So yeah, that was a big surprise for me, and luckily I was able to catch up at the end. And nobody could see how bad I was.
Phil was just like, ha ha. No, there was one point where you walked off the stage, and I thought you did it on purpose because you walked back on like, ha ha, you smiled. I was like, that was a good way to play it off.
Yeah, they actually called me right back out. I walked off, and I'm thinking, they called all the names. I'm thinking, don't call my name. Just let me be done. And then I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
That top 5. Yeah, I thought they were only going to call 4, and then they called you out.
Yeah, and then they did a pose down with everybody. I almost came on stage for that pose. I told you, man, I'm calling you out, Reagan Grimes. I could beat you. But my wife won't let me. She won't let me compete. She wears the pants in the family. Is that right?
That's right.
I'm gonna just stick to making supplements and making crappy videos on YouTube. So let's pivot to the haters. Okay, this is something the haters want to know, and I want to know as well. Coming off the Olympia, okay, see the message boards or whatever. Not the message boards. What is this? 1997. You see the gram. You see YouTube. You see all these guys. Everybody's a damn critic. Everybody's an expert now. So, coming in? What are you looking to improve for 2020, 2021? Both of the all 5 days left in the year, whatever it is. What are you looking to improve? When you look at your pictures, conditioning, if you say conditioning, I'm going to hit you with a chair. Because conditioning, if you come in any leaner, we're going to have to pull you off in a body bag. You were in rigor mortis, you were so shredded. I don't want to hear conditioning. I don't think Brandy wants to hear conditioning because just back to posing, and I know I'm rambling, but I get so weird talking about this. Like, people don't understand how being the most conditioned man on stage also means that posing is going to suck the worst because you have the least energy reserves in your body, the least way to retain. Water retains in your subcutaneous fat. You had no fat. Your glutes were etched and grainy, and I mean, it was something you're not going to see in those goddamn pictures. Gosh darn pictures. You're not going to see the graininess that you see in person. That's why you can't look at a picture and say Ramy beat Brandon or Brandon beat Phil or any. You can't look at a picture and say for definitive fact because there's a quality of the muscle. That's where Phil used to beat everybody. Because Phil came in and no one understood when I told them. I trained with him 3 weeks before the Olympia. And this was like in 2017, 2016. And his muscles had this 3D stupid look. And he had this weird quad stick out thing that was just grainy. I'm like, what the hell? I've never seen that in my life. And you can't look at pictures and think you're going to armchair quarterback your way into being an NPC or an IFBB judge. You have to see the quality of the muscle. And I think people don't understand, like when Phil beat Kai because Phil had something Kai didn't have. He had the 3D and that look, that pictures, Kai photographs so well. But Phil, in person, and you guys, and I mean, Brandon will agree with me on this. I know you will, because every bodybuilder I've met said there's something about his muscle that just had this. He didn't have it this year, not in his chest at least, but he used to have this nasty, like weird 3D look.
Yeah, he was definitely 3D muscle bellies. He just looked full, but it was just a hardness to the muscle as well. Very cartoonish, very, very cartoonish. So, but as far as improving for me, we're going to look to we can bring some more size back. I think I afforded to push myself down further than you probably needed to necessarily given the kind of condition that I did, because that was the goal. So we can bring, compete against Ramy, we can bring more fullness to the stage. Of course, we're going to continue to bring up the lower body. Sometimes when you're pulling down that far, you start to, lose a little bit of pop on some body parts, and that's pretty much what we saw, pushing down that far. So we're going to look to bring in more fullness downstairs, of course, and I think one of the things that we can really focus on as well is making sure that, let's see, what's the word for it? What's the word for it? I want to bring actually like, I'm always looking to bring a different kind of look to the stage. Yeah, we'll bring the conditioning. We're looking to bring conditioning, of course, back to the stage, but I want to bring a different kind of look, and that comes with muscle maturity. So I believe that another year of training, some experimental or some new kind of things I have access to in the gym that I heard about recently today. Merry Christmas to me. I think will really cater to being able to recover better, being able to rest better, sleep better, and make sure the muscles are continue to fire on all cylinders throughout the whole entire year, as well as a training modality that's a little bit different stimulus as well that we'll use sparingly here and there, especially on some of the weaker muscle groups to kind of bring them up in this season. So we're looking forward to, before I even get to Kuwait, having a different kind of body that we will just be able to improve on and polish by the time it's time to go into prep. So
that's awesome. Just looking at here's another thing. I gotta ask this because I'm a little bit older than you. At 38 years old, do you think you can make gains? Do you think you can make those kind of gains, or do you think maybe it's? Well, I mean, Dexter made gains up until he was like 74. So I mean, Dexter kind of set the stage.
Easily. We play a pretty conservative game. We're in this for the longer haul, and so I think I got plenty of room to work with, plenty of places I can improve upon in the year as long as we play it smart, and we let the body rest the way it needs to and bounce back the way it needs to. Fortunately for me, I've been able to get to the top and not just totally abuse my body in the process. So I'm really looking forward to what we can do after a little rest and regrouping and focus and therapy and whatnot, going into the 2021 season. Even though it should be a shorter season, just only focusing on Olympia, I think it's a good amount of time. Whether it happens in October, whether it happens in November, it still should be a good amount of time to regroup, rest, get my mind right. And as long as my coach is not too pissed off and ready to do this again, get back on that horse. And
that man's gonna be pissed off. Abdullah's always mad. He's mad when he's happy. Like he was really happy after Prejudging, he was still mad. I love him. He tells you like it is. Yeah. That's a good dude. But so I want to get the bodybuilding nerd stuff out of the way, then get to what people really want to know. And that's kind of how you got into this, also with Brandy and shipping your ass off to Middle East. So next year, big Ramy and you. That's who I see. It's always 1 and 2. This year, I believe Ramy kind of snuck in. It was you versus Phil. That's what everybody was talking about. Mm-hmm. Who do you see, other than Big Ramy and yourself, as the top 5? And do you think Phil will come back? I have to bring Phil up because Phil was let's be real, like people talked about him way too damn much as someone who didn't compete for a year and last time competed lost. But he deserved it. He's 7-time Mr. Olympia. But do you think this is it? Do you think he's going to try and make a comeback? And also, besides Phil, who do you think is going to be your main competition other than Ramy?
Okay, well, we'll answer that question first. I think as long as we can, he can get back in the country, I think Hadi's going to be a very, very formidable competitor coming into this next Olympia. And if I talk to William, man, William's like he was on the Dexter tip backstage for a minute. Well, as long as he's coming back and he's focused, he'll always be one of those guys who's going to be in the mix as well. But I see those two as being for sure ready to come back and be on fire. The next, as far as Phil's concerned, it depends on what Phil needs to do. I mean, he's got to make a living. He's got to make a life for himself. Yeah. And depending on where he's at and what bodybuilding fits in that picture, I think it's a very, very good possibility he'll be back. I even heard something about him maybe going back and competing at the Arnold recently. I don't know, it's fresh news, but it's very, very much a possibility.
Top 3 at the Olympia.
I'd love to see Phil back on stage. I think he adds a. You know what? Honestly, like he made the press conference fun.
Yeah.
Like, he's just because feels like you never know what Phil's gonna say. He's become that guy. By the way, guys, we do have a house full of kids. If you hear any screaming in the background, there's nothing weird going on here. This is an Airbnb.
Well,
Yeah.
and you forgot to mention why they're dressed like that.
Oh yeah, this is just a normal,
You know.
normal Friday. We do this every week. We do so we're at an Airbnb. It is Christmas, so that is why. We'll get this up as soon as possible. But if you're watching this in March, like why the hell is Brandon Curry? They're gonna be watching 30 minutes of this thing like, why is he dressed like a large candy cane?
And his wife matches.
This is so weird. It's Christmas time.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
And I gave him his pajamas last night. He actually looked at me and goes, "Are those really for me?" I was like, "Yes, it is."
He looked amazing. He looked amazing. So Brandy.
Yes.
So you're the most happily married single mom I've ever met. Because my wife is single a lot because I travel a lot. But she actually is not happy at all. I don't know what I'm doing as a husband. Sending Brandon off to Kuwait. The first thing we asked you, I think we sat down at dinner at my house, and I'm like, so when Brandon decided to go to Kuwait, like, you're like, no, I sent him away. Like, he's gone. And how is that? Like, how? So knowing he's over there, and obviously we kind of know a little bit, but he's in Kuwait. Like, what goes through your mind that entire prep? Like, what's it like? Obviously, you have 4 kids, practices in 5 different cities. Like, how?
I don't know.
Okay, that works.
I don't
Next
know.
question.
I just one day at a time, and luckily, I've been doing this long enough to where at the very beginning, that's when it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know any of the other families yet. I didn't really have my own community built up yet. So by now, you're talking his 4th year away, and 4th year where I have, well, not 4th year where all 4 of them are in sports, but my community has grown. And so I've met more families, and I've gotten to know the people that I trust, to be able to help me with the kids, get them to and fro here and there. For the most part, I literally will drive from 3 different parks, and then in Murfreesboro, and then a 4th one in Franklin on the same day, and back and forth to pick them up. But I have been able to manage to build a really great community around me that is so supportive, and they're not just trying to help me as a mom, like they're so supportive really of this guy right here. I mean, the president of our football club even surprised me and was like, "Hey, at the beginning of the season, we had to pick the player numbers, and I picked the numbers that the boys wanted." And he pulled me aside. He's like, "Hey, I got a surprise. I don't know if it's okay with you, but I know you gave me all the numbers you wanted for the boys, but I wanted to surprise you and Brandon, and I put all the boys down for number 15.
Nice.
So every single one of the boys was number 15 for the 15th Mr. Olympia. I mean, that's just the type of community support that we have all around us. And they will go to, the ends of the earth is, pretty much to be able to support whatever it is that we're doing and whatever it is that he's doing. He's given back to the kids, and to, we do our best to help the community however we can. So, it's reciprocated. It's awesome.
And we got a national championship.
Oh
Yes.
man,
Yeah.
championship, yes.
Black men blaze.
It worked out. It worked out great. So on to like nutrition. A lot of people ask, what the hell do you eat? Like, so going into the contest, a lot of people, like, this is a big thing. Is that diet people say you can't get lean on carbs, you can't do this. So everybody's like, well, what do those guys eat? It's like, so generally speaking, not like breaking down, obviously you guys can't eat as much as Brandon. I'm sure he burns a lot more calories than you.
The bigger you are.
So let's say your typical day, 5 weeks out. Like your typical diet day, and this could be a video on its own, seriously. But what is, like, you wake up in the morning, let's say, what is your typical day of eating and your training schedule? Just your typical day. You don't have to go like, well, then I do this, that. It's like, what do you eat? What's the purpose for it? And is there any structure to it? When does it change? Just kind of a brief outline.
Okay, I will make a plug on the Gorilla Wear USA YouTube channel. They followed me on a full day of eating.
Nice.
I have a video on that.
I'll link it down below.
Yeah, there's something, I don't know if it's maybe 5-6 weeks out or something like that. But yeah, that kind of followed me. But in general, I wake up and I do my cardio every morning. So let's see, around 5 week out, it may be around I think we were on 35 minutes, 35, 40 minutes in the morning.
What kind of cardio?
Typically, I will do the Cybex arc. You can kind of cut the step meal out towards the end. Or if it's a before leg day or something, I may do a recumbent bike or something to give my legs a little bit more rest before going into cardio that morning, that evening, and then, or afternoon, I should say. But after I finish cardio, I will walk right directly down the street to Graham's, which is a restaurant that bodybuilder owns. And it's called Graham's because literally you can get things there by the gram. And basically I get an omelet there. So we eat about I think it's like 7 egg white omelet, maybe like 3 whole eggs, with some mashed potatoes. I make me mashed potatoes, probably about, I think in the morning it's about 250 grams of mashed potatoes. So that's breakfast.
Is that about 60 grams of carbs, somewhere in there? I'm trying to do my math. But
Not the milky buttery mashed potatoes, guys.
Yeah, guys, it's not actually, Graham doesn't mean your grandma's mashed potatoes. 'Cause I guarantee you she ain't making them like Brandon Curry's eating. Now, it's not Brandon Curry's grandmom ain't making it like that. Like,
No.
She's having us fried chicken at football games. Yeah, his mom.
So typically from there we go to chicken. So we have chicken, maybe 1 or 2 meals. I do about 250 grams of chicken per meal, with fish, chicken, whatever it may be, 250 grams. And then I think we had, this is my memory, because my diet has changed so much in a matter of time. We probably do like 200 grams of rice. 200 grams of rice, and we do a third meal that probably has chicken or shrimp, 250 grams of chicken or shrimp, with about 250 grams of sweet potato, sometimes 300. That could change depending on the training session. Since we train, and my coach normally goes to the restaurant with me right after, he may throw it up to 350 grams or something like that. Depending on how the training session went, he makes that meal more adjustable. And then from that point on, we'll probably cut the carbs out about 5 weeks out at that point after the post-training meal. And if we don't, we'll have maybe 100 grams more rice with the next meal with fish. And then we'll have a couple more fish meals. Just fish, pretty much. White fish. So that's pretty much how it goes. Whenever my coach feels like I'm depleting too fast, he may throw steak in to kind of bring my body back to life a little bit more with some little fats in the steak, or we may go to Cheesecake Factory, eat some salmon, something of that nature. Those fatty sources of meat typically kind of pull me out of what we call maybe like an over depleted state, just by bringing some fats in.
So it's a pretty low fat diet.
Yeah.
Pretty high carb, moderate carb, high protein, low fat.
Right.
So you know what I found is that regardless of what the experts on the internet say, and this is the kind of diet I use, I when I'm contest prep or even when I'm just trying to get lean for whatever, most pro bodybuilders, you're going to find very little pro bodybuilders doing keto. And my theory on that is we just train too hard. Your body loves glycogen, and you just can't get the training intensity low carb. You just can't. I've done it, and it was horrible. You just can't eke out those extra reps, and glucose is your body's preferred energy source.
I've done it too, and I ended up just trying to get hard and grainy like they wanted me to in the past, and I just ended up smaller and softer.
Yeah, wasn't that 2016? You did that,
smaller.
and that was when he was the smallest.
Yeah.
And he got last place with it.
And
guys.
being a bodybuilder, you want to actually make your body adaptive to holding glycogen for that fullness and effect. And if you're not eating any, you can't rely on that last bit of carb load to have that impact happen. So I think you kind of train your body to use glycogen in the proper way by keeping it in the diet. As you diet, whether you're fluctuating the amounts or whatnot, you're actually training your body to use that and keep that muscle fuller, rounder, more hydrated. And then when you go into the contest, a little depletion maybe will sensitize it a little bit, and the body's ready to respond. Because I think you lose the enzymes and stuff to kind of digest the carbohydrates at a certain rate, and you cater them more to fat when you switch to the high fat sources in the keto style diet, which makes you more efficient at digesting fats. But going the other direction, when you're trying to load and get that full effect, it can hit you in the butt without using things like some people can't use in some organizations. So.
Yeah, or just people who just don't want to die. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, You know, my whole thing is we can throw all the diet stuff and the theories and this, that, and bodybuilding is a different kind of diet. Like general health and fitness isn't necessarily bodybuilding and performance. And I always say in high impact, high intensity performance sports, you're not going to get by with a lower carb diet. Fat can be an energy source. Your body can derive energy from ketones. It's great for the brain. And I like fats. I love fats. But if you're looking at getting ready for a show, you're right. It's something called being fat adapted. And your body becomes fat adapted where it becomes able to burn more fat and use fat for energy and becomes more efficient at getting into ketosis, which provides you that energy source. But there's that, what is it called when you go into ketosis? And there's that 3 day window where you just feel like you're horrible.
Yeah. It's like the keto flu or whatever.
Yeah, the keto flu, it's switching energy sources. So imagine doing that a week out from the show and you're trying to load carbs. Your body doesn't know what to do with that. And that's the problem with some of these guys who come in and they're like, oh, low carb's great. Well, it may be great for some reasons for people with, maybe type 2 diabetes or epilepsy. But for people who, a lot of things. But bodybuilders generally aren't going to be insulin resistant.
Right, too much muscle, right?
Too much muscle. We train too hard. There's a lot of GLUT4 receptor action going on from all the training. And so what are you two looking forward to most now that you're back home? Keep it rated G. It's a family show.
She can't say anything.
He's blushing. You just can't tell.
We need the kids to stay with us for a few days.
I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to waking up next to my husband.
Dressed like that every night.
Well, he sleeps naked, so that's still appropriate. Yeah, he won't.
Well, thank God we didn't go into their room. Did you hear the story? And I don't know if this was told to me when I was at Weider. Ben Weider, for a while, he was really pushing, and I'm 90% sure this is true, but I never asked Ben himself, and unless I get it from the source. But Ben Weider was pushing for a while to have bodybuilding be completely nude.
What?
Wow.
So you could judge the entire, I'm not even joking, so you could judge the entire physique.
Physique?
Obviously, Bo Lewis would have done great. How did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
Shout out to both.
Dude, he's got memes about him. I'm sorry. The cat's out of the bag. Or whatever you call that thing he has. I think Fuad on his podcast called it a kickstand.
Yeah, kickstand. That's what Bo was like, man, come on now. I'm trying to win the Olympia, man. Yo, think it's a game. I'm trying to win the Olympia.
So would you be in favor of nude bodybuilding?
No, I wouldn't be. Hey, I was not in favor of being on stage and posing front.
Really?
When it was presented to me, that's what I told her when she said I should be.
Yeah, we were 17.
I don't want to be on stage in no Speedo.
So you should be bodybuilding when we grow up. He's like, never.
When we grow up. So you guys have known each other since high school.
20 years now.
This-
We were 17.
We kind of have a similar story. So you don't see that much, at least at one table. We've known each other that long.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest change you've seen in one another throughout the years, other than maturity, obviously, and different things? But what would you think would be the main character development that has come across? Because Katie could probably say a few, because I was a real jerk. Now, she hasn't changed at all.
No maturity.
I think I'm just better at actually listening to my wife and what she has to say. When at first I was just an egomaniac and disregarded all her advice.
He did have a lot of ego problems, believe it or not. I think a lot of people look at him as his, for his humility, but he was not always that way.
No.
Not me.
And it was rough for me, because I come from a humble place, and we were always, humility was something that was embedded in us, and I mean, Brandon he didn't have it in him. I'll be honest, and I can't tell you how many times I just wanted to smack him.
I didn't have any humbling experiences growing up, unfortunately.
No.
Well, you were like a baller, though. You were like a great football player. You just were the guy.
It took bodybuilding to kind of bring me back to reality.
Yeah, I think the hardest was when he was on this high horse and up until he turned pro, and it was easy for him along the way. And then when he got his pro debut, you know, I competed in figure division as an amateur in his pro debut. It was Tim Gardner's, the Tampa Pro, and they had the amateur division, and I did the figure to do it with him, and I won the overall, and he got like 6th or 7th place.
Yeah,
and I felt I couldn't celebrate. He was pissed. I mean, he was used to winning everything, you know, and I was like, I just had, our baby was 6-7 months old, and I was winning everything that year. I won a lot.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought I should win everything. It's not like I knew what I was doing.
Right. But you were used to that, and I was like, man, this is taken away from my wins here.
Yeah, I think we all, I mean, there's a huge difference. That's why I think, you know, it's like you look at marriage, and marriage is, and just knowing someone for that long, like, you know, man, you guys have always, no, man, we had a period of time where I didn't like her at all. It was like yesterday. But no, it was like 5 o'clock when I was hungry and we were waiting to get food. I lost my shit the other day. I was so hungry.
I remember.
They told us, now we were walking out of Universal. I was hungry, and she's like, and I took my mask off. I'm like, I can breathe. Then she's like, we're going to the parking lot. Should put your mask on. I'm like, no, I'm leaving anyway. Kick me out. And I'm like, and then I threw a fit about the masks.
But you were like 20 feet away from your car.
Yeah, it was weird, but so I want to state, I was actually going to do a video about this today, but then I got stuck. I was writing that program. I don't do resolutions, but I really need one. Is that I was good at this for like an hour, and I'm really not good at like thinking before I do stuff. It's a good thing where like I can make swift decisions as a manager. But in like life, it's not that good, and I overreact a little bit. You could disagree.
No, you do. You overreact.
Yeah, I do.
Especially when you're hangry.
Yeah. I need to eat more. Is what I need to eat more big O bar samples.
Those were the best.
Yeah,
Those are the best.
That
I
guy.
on the cart. I'm like, let me not eat a whole one because I know we're gonna eat soon.
I made the mistake
so
they're so good. I'm gonna just eat half this bar, and I knew we were on our way to lunch, but I was getting hangry, and I ate the whole 100-gram bar. And I got to lunch, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to force this down.
Yeah.
Like that thing fills you up. So outside of bodybuilding, you're back home. Your kids are killing it in sports. They all play. We have football and Zoe in soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
As soon as we get back, I mean, wrestling season has been in since October, but we usually don't ever get to start until the tail end of wrestling. But our boys, you know, they wrestle. I mean, depending on what happens with the whole restrictions and stuff on sports, you know, we've got I was hoping to get the boys into flag football in the spring.
Yeah.
There's track and field in the summer. We didn't get to do track last year because track was canceled.
Yeah.
Otherwise we'll just end up at Rose Park.
Yeah, well, it could be worse. Just so you guys know, our daughters actually, there was this professional male soccer players from Europe
They were stuck.
who were stranded because they couldn't fly to Europe to play their sport. So our daughters were fortunate enough to be able to train with them daily at a park in Nashville. It was half privately owned, so they didn't have to shut down or lock down or follow any of the restrictions. And if I don't want to get political, but I personally don't like lockdowns or masks or any of that stuff. I mean, we're and if you don't agree with us, we respect your decision, but So we go to a park, and everybody goes to that park and knows full well that that's the risk they're taking. And we go, and our daughters played, and it was phenomenal, and they got such good work and such good experience. That's where we kind of, you know, decided to start this brand. What was really funny is, if you haven't heard about how the 015 brand started, it started with literally a walk in the park.
Our boomer walks, Katie.
Yes, these are the women behind 015, and it started at a walk in the park when the girls were playing soccer, and Brandy and I were just kind of brainstorming and talking about
You were asking me about what we were gonna do if because we've been with SciTech for 5 years, and you were asking what we were gonna do, and I was just saying, we didn't really want to go to another brand, because over the course of 15 years, Brandon's only been, had his name attached to 2 companies, and we wanted to keep it that way. And it was just like, if we don't re-sign with SciTech, it'll be our own thing. We did not want to add another company to that, because I just feel like, you know, that takes away from so much of who he is and the trust factor. And you know, there's always been multiple offers for him as far as where he could go, and we just didn't want it to seem like to the fans like anything was misleading, or, you know, it's out there where people are always like, oh, you're only promoting that brand because you're getting paid. And we, even when we signed with SciTech, it was, you know, they approached us and I was like, well, can you send us some of your products, because we didn't want to sign unless we believe in your products. We wanted to try them first, and that's just how we operate. And, you know, with the whole COVID thing, we just didn't know what was going to happen, if they were going to get rid of athletes, or if they weren't. If we stayed, we couldn't go over there, we couldn't travel, we couldn't even get the products.
And they recently had a sale
in the US,
they had
yeah.
a sale to another heavyweight company.
Biotech, yes, yeah.
They could change.
Just bought outside tech. So the inside of the company had changed a little bit. So we have been working on it. It was a very interesting change all the way around.
Timing was right. Timing was right.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, a lot of people don't understand, like, they don't know, because bodybuilders normally don't put out their credentials or their, you know, their whole, their resume, you know, their achievements, their curricula vitae, or whatever you call it, you know, their CV. That's a big one. I said
Just say
it smart.
CV.
That was, bro, that was Latin. So Brandon knows his stuff. Like, I've formulated products since 2004, and old. O stands for old gangster. Not original. I'm not the original. Like, Brandon knows his stuff. Like, initially, we're throwing out ingredients. Okay, what are we doing in pre-work? We got to make it different. Got to make it special. But it can't fake the funk. A lot of people make products they don't believe in. They don't take them. Like, there was nobody more excited to get a sample and implement it into their training for the biggest show in bodybuilding than Brandon. And I remember we're looking at the bars. It's like, oh, these are perfect. And then Zoe ate a whole one, you know, and I'm like, okay, it's done. Like, when a teenage girl is like, okay, this is it. So we knew we had the right brand. And for me, the biggest apprehension is, you guys are honestly the first friends we've had ever. Like, we don't have friends we haven't done business with. And we were hanging out, and Katie comes home that day, and I'm like, yeah, I was talking to Brandy, and, you know, this would work, and this would fit. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm like, you know, it's always risky. Yeah. It just is when you combine that, but this one just fit because it's the right thing. And the way you guys, we're literally at Disney World yesterday. I was telling someone this. We're at Disney World, and Brandon's like, hold on, stops, gets his phone, puts it on that neat little doohickey that spins around. I'm sitting here with my $10 Best Buy, and he's like, gotta talk to the fans. And he goes on, and there's like 500 people from all over the world, and I looked at Katie, I'm like, damn, this is great. Yesterday I woke up, first thing I said to Katie, you know, she's got boogers in her eyes, coming up. Like, I go, hey, I'm sitting there. That's how she wakes up every morning and be like this.
She's wide awake.
And that's me. I'm like, this is the best decision we've ever made. Did I not say that? I woke up like that. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. I mean, you normally don't, like, I don't, and we tried to restrain me today. Instead, I wrote a book.
Yeah.
And I'm walking around the house. I'm playing on the basketball in the arcade. Brandon's sleeping.
Legs wide open.
I'm offering to vacuum the house. I don't vacuum the house. My girls are vacuuming around here tomorrow. I've already packed. We're not leaving for 2 days. I can't vacate. And for those of you wondering, is Marc ever going to leave the industry? Apparently today has clarified that answer is no. And no, I can't retire. I wish I could. I really, I took one nap. All right, what now?
There was like just me and Max, and then it's like 7:30 in the morning. Here comes Marc coming in the house from the gym. I'm like, did you just come from the gym? Yeah, actually. Good morning.
So, but just kind of like getting in, and we'll wrap this up. But we'll have a lot going on this year. I think living close to you guys, like even my own warehouse is 4.5 hours away. Like the amount of content. And of course on your channel, Brandon. And what is your channel's name?
Brandon Curry All Access.
So all one word.
Yes.
And that's on YouTube and of course on Instagram, Brandon Curry. But a lot of cool stuff, like more access than any top level Olympia competitor, Olympia winner, Mr. Olympia has ever given anybody. And I think you've given them more access to the fans this week. After the like you should be in seclusion and just doing your thing, but you wouldn't take a week. You've been answering things, you've been answering DMs, I mean, replying to people on your personal Instagram page. There has never been a more, you talk about the People's Choice Award, and you know what? I think if you went beyond the bodybuilding stage, like there's not 1.1 million bodybuilding watchers. The Olympia sold out, yes, but that was what, 1,500 people?
2,500.
2,500, all right. 1.1 million followers. That's more than live stream, that's more there. Brandon goes beyond the Olympia stage. The following for Brandon is not just people who like seeing bodybuilding. It's people who want to improve themselves and who enjoy what he puts out. Like you have everything from bodybuilding pictures to Zoe practicing soccer to whatever. Like it's the most diverse page.
To Max ballin'.
Well, I want to give the girls some love. Max has gotten older.
I know.
I mean, you got to give the other kids credit. Forget about the other kids. Wow. I don't even talk about Preston anymore, but he's so disappointing. But
well, Zoe, I mean, yeah, I told you about that call I got a couple weeks ago. I mean,
Zoe's going. I think Zoe and Cammie both are the same person.
Yeah.
Embodiment of like similar.
Yeah, they're special girls, man.
Yeah, they're just another level. But your kids are another level, and that's what people come to see is Brandon brings something to the bodybuilding world that we've needed for a long time, and that's the fact that family values are a part of our sport. If you think about it, it should be, because our sport should be about commitment and goal setting, and we haven't had that. Instead, we get more gossipy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you find a Mr. Olympia who embodies that drive, that spirit, and basically living the American dream, coming from last place to first place, and doing it and inspiring those along the way. And that's what made everything make sense. And that's why I don't think, unless it was Brandon's own brand, it would make sense. You know, all I do is I'm in the background just making sure stuff goes where it goes, making sure everything's on point logistically. But I don't think there's a brand out there that could represent what Brandon Curry represents unless it was Brandon Curry's brand. That's my opinion.
Hey, I like your opinion.
But man, so wrapping it up, just about an hour. Anything you want to say, Katie?
No, I mean, the launch of the company has gone amazing. I think we work very well together, and we're appreciative of everyone who's supporting the brand. It's available at Tiger Fitness.
Hey, shout out to all my friends sending me all the stuff that they bought. And,
oh man, and all the fans that are tagging us with like
keep doing
their reviews. It's awesome.
We're going to be looking for some people to represent the brand,
Yep.
and so go ahead and buy your products and give us your reviews. Be creative, and you never know, we may feature you.
We got something coming.
Oh yeah, we got a lot coming this year. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Brandon Curry, any final words for everybody?
Hey, it's been great. First of all, I want to say this: don't feel sorry for me, please. Getting second place and beating Phil Heath and it's not the most terrible thing in the world.
We've been in last place more than once.
I'm not broken. It's bodybuilding. I've lost a lot. Probably lost way more than I won. So I'm feeling great. Things are going great, and I'm a very blessed person. So thank you guys for all your cares and support. But Brandon's gonna be okay. Trust me.
and he's gonna win.
Yes.
20.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your Mr. Olympia champion here, Brandon Curry, with a huge announcement. Been waiting to make this announcement for a while now. We've been working hard behind the scenes to release this, but now it's time, guys. It's time that I started my own brand, guys, and that's what this announcement is about. I've started my own brand, 015 Nutrition, guys. 015 Nutrition, yes, the O is for Olympia, the 15 is for 15, number 15. Number 15, Mr. Olympia, 015 Nutrition. There you go, guys. That's how we came up with the name. And guys, we're very, very excited to be releasing scientifically dosed supplements on this market, guys, right now, coming to you very, very soon, guys. We're very excited. And guys, I just want to say, I really, really appreciate your support. You guys, of course, I've been with a couple companies and I've been traveling around the world promoting the brands. SciTech Nutrition, of course, is the last brand I'm with. They help me understand about the quality and diversity of different products, the different formulations that I like. And guys, I've been able to put something very, very special together for you guys on this new release. First, let's talk about the products that are coming out to you. We got 5 products to start out with this release. From this December to January, these products will be released on the market at tigerfitness.com is our first online retailer. Tigerfitness.com. This is where you want to get these products. We got a pre-workout called Exalt. Yes, pre-workout called Exalt. We have a non-stim formula called Expansion. We got a whey protein hydroxylate formula called Big Hydro. We got a gut formula for you guys, a prebiotic called Happy Guts. And we got a real food protein bar called Big O. Yes, Big O, guys. And these are the products that we're just happy to bring you. We've been working very, very hard to get you some quality products on the market, working on different formulations to try to give you the best of the best. Of course, something Mr. Olympia, of course, will use and approve for you guys, guys. So I'm very, very happy to have these products on the market, guys, for you guys to be using. Like I say, we put a lot of hard work into these things. These are things that, of course, I would use and I enjoy using, and more to come on this on the brand. More to come for you guys, more formulations to come down the road. But this is our first 5 supplements. I'm really, really happy. If you guys are interested in carrying any of these products, please contact us. Of course, like I said, tigerfitness.com will be your first go-to place to get any of these products. So guys, I'm just very, very excited. Thank you for your time and all the best.